Welcome to the Thread to Mend podcast. My name is Taylor, coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland, and this is a podcast about all things fiber related, mostly knitting, spinning, and fiber prep. I have a few things to show you this week since I last recorded. The first is a dog sweater that I knit with my hand spun. This was a project of yarn chicken. I simply cast on from the top down a random number of stitches that I constantly fit over my dog's head to make sure it was comfortable. And I made the mistake of not switching over to the larger size needles after my ribbing. So I continued knitting the body of the sweater in a size 6. I simply knit in the round, increasing on both sides until I came to the chest piece of the sweater, where I split off and held these stitches as I continued to knit back and forth in stockinette until I reached the bottom of the armhole, and then I picked up again here using my 9-inch circulars, and I knit back and forth, increasing on the last few rows of the arms to broaden it and make the belly a little wider. And then I combined the two to knit in the round once more until I reached a particular length, again, which I just continued to try on Starship Enterprise. And then I knit in short rows, starting at the middle, just going back and forth, wider and wider, wider, till I reached the same sort of belly space at the bottom of the armhole. And that's where I pretty much just ran out of yarn to have enough then to do a couple rows of stockinette and then bind off. So this, I didn't even finish the armholes. Really, I had maybe enough yarn to do a chain stitch around, which I attempted but realized it would have only made them a little maybe tighter and bulkier, and I'm okay with them being unfinished because they're not seen and it's probably more comfortable that way, a little more stretchy and adjustable around her movement. So this is completed. I'm happy with it. It's a little shorter than I would have hoped, but because I did run out of yarn, but I haven't even blocked it yet. She has been wearing it, and you'll see her in this sweater soon, if not later on in the episode. I love the fabric that this yarn created. This yarn was fiber that I carded on my Fancy Kitty Big Tom drum carder. The lighter whitish fiber as well as the orangish fiber is both Corriedale, and I overdyed some of it with onion skins, and the dark is a Rambouillet cross, which I carded on the drum carder. Spun it as it came off that bat. So I love this. It's adorable. It looks cute on her, and you'll see this soon. I did cast on a project that I immediately put on hold. It's a sweater I'd mentioned last week using the Cumbria. Do I have the thing here? I don't have the tag downstairs with me, but this is, I think, I don't know if it's Road to China. It's the Cumbria fingering weight yarn. I forget its details. It will be in the project page as soon as I make one. But you can see that I immediately cast on close to like 300 stitches. I won't give you the exact number because this is a paid for pattern. I did the first step, and then the next row asks that I do an abbreviated stitch that I'd never done before ever, and I was looking for the abbreviation chart to explain what it meant and what I should do, and then I realized quickly that the pattern didn't come with an abbreviation chart, which I really appreciate. And so I knew that I would have to stop watching The West Wing and go to YouTube and learn this new skill that I just didn't have the time for in that moment. I wanted to just knit and sit, and I didn't have that abbreviated chart. So you don't know what I mean by an abbreviated chart. I'll just show you one here. This is from the Talia shawl by Andrea Mowry. It's another shawl pattern I plan to knit soon. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And the abbreviation chart will show you like exactly what abbreviations are used in the pattern and how they're done. So I just find that an invaluable resource because it can almost guarantee that you can take your knitting off grid. You don't need the internet to know how to complete the pattern, which I appreciate. So I put this on hold for now, and I do hope to knit it soon. I'm planning to wear this project to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival coming up in May, if the weather is good. And I can't wait to start that project again. So I have another project I started. I don't know if I'm going to finish this one as it is. I wanted simple knitting to take on the road, to bring with me when I leave the house. So I cast on the cuff using a twisted rib. I can't remember exactly how many stitches I cast on for this, but I would guess it's closer to like 56 or 58. I am using, I think, a size 2 needle. Yeah, 2.75 millimeters, which is a little bigger than most people knit on their socks, but this yarn is a little thicker than most other sock yarns. The total yardage for this skein is under 300 yards. I think it's like 275 or 285. This is the Utopia BFL, BFF, I think they call it BFF, BFL. It doesn't say whether it's fingering or sport or whatever. It just gives you the weight of the yarn and the yardage, and so you kind of figure that out on your own. When I was buying this yarn, to me it appeared close to fingering, but like a heavy fingering, which I really like in socks. And so I just continued knitting these, a simple vanilla pattern, just stockinette all the way down. And personally, I'm not a super fan of variegated yarn, if you can call this variegated. Of course, it's like a single color for the most part, or shade rather, whatever you call that. And I realized I would probably really like to have a nice pair of gray socks that has a simple cable down the side, or even like a simple lace pattern down the side or front. And so I kind of just stopped knitting this because I thought I wasn't sure if I wanted a simple gray sock or if I wanted a fancier gray sock. So I don't really know what to do. I mean, I'm closer to halfway done with this one sock than I am not. I don't know if I want to rip back what is appearing to be about 4 inches of work to just add a pattern in. But if I am using up this yarn, like, I guess I should use it in the way I feel like it would best be applied, or apply a method that I think would best showcase the yarn the way I want to. And so I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should make this pattern more complicated than it is and go back and add like a nice big cable down the front. I don't know if a big cable down the front is even comfortable on the top of my foot in a shoe. So I want you to tell me what you think. I'm going to ask for a vote here. Do you think I ought to continue knitting in stockinette and just make my next set of socks a cable sock? Or should I apply this yarn in a manner that I think would be more ideal for it and rip back and add some sort of design? Is there a pattern you might suggest? Should I put faith in myself to just apply a random cable that I find and want to use? Which do you think I should do? Cast your vote. Comment below. Because I'd like some input. I want some fiber friends by my side guiding me on this sock journey. So I have a couple other things to show you. The other, one of them is a skein of yarn I finished. I got it caught on my basket. There we go. This is a skein of Cormo cross wool. I picked up at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival last year. It's over dyed, or the fiber rather is dyed with black walnut hulls on my stove. And then I dye the raw fiber, and then I comb it out, and then I spin it a little overspun, a little overplied. I haven't been spinning yarn for very long. I've mostly developed skill at becoming more consistent in the thickness or thinness of the yarn as I spin, but I'm still working out, you know, how to not overply my yarn too much. I'm definitely at the point where I'm not way overplying it, but sometimes my yarn is a little ropey because it is overplied and or overspun, and I like the look of overplied yarn, so I intentionally overply it. And by overplying it, I hope that it takes, because you're spinning in the reverse direction, I like that overplying it might take out some of the over twist in the single. So I'm getting better and better at my spinning. This is the fifth skein of yarn that I'm spinning for a sweater project. So I have a few others. It's rather challenging to hold them all up. I'll just stack my cakes. So I caked these up, and I realized I'm playing yarn chicken here in this project. So I needed a fifth skein, so I spun that, and I'm hoping that this works out. I am planning to knit a color work pattern. These yarns don't have a lot of contrast to them, so I'm going to have to very carefully pick and choose how I use which color and where. And I don't know yet which color I want to use for the cuffs, the bottom ribbing edge, the collar. I might want to spin a color or another skein of yarn in a similar color so that I feel that I can use an equal amount of all of these 5 skeins in the body of the yoke, so that I'm not eating up a whole lot of one of them in the cuffs, collar, and bottom hem. So there's some planning involved in this project I haven't even approached yet, such as knitting a swatch and finding a colorwork pattern I truly want to apply. So that's in the works. I feel like my spinning is mostly done, or it's done for the most part. I might spin more for this project, but that is just in storage over here. I have 2 other sweater quantities of yarn that I plan to knit in this year. I don't set hard goals. Personally, I don't feel like goals inspire me to work. I feel that projects inspire me to work because it's more applied to that moment. So I just start projects and I finish projects, and that's how I meet my goals. I do plan to start projects for these 2 sweater quantities soon. I just don't know exactly how and what. Or I know what, it's the yarn. So there's these 2 skeins of yarn. This one is wool fingering weight. I caked up one skein of each yarn, and I have 4 fingering weight skeins of this. I guess they're about 375 yards each. I know that the tag will tell me for sure. But again, this is wool fingering weight in the mustard seed colorway, which is my soul color. And my plan for this sweater quantity of yarn is to knit a fancy, semi-fitted dolman sleeve sweater. I hope to knit a ribbing band that is much longer than I typically knit in any of my other sweaters. And that's the fitted aspect of it, and then increase to make the dolman sleeve and a longer cuff to bring it to a fuller length, or mostly full length sleeve. I know I have enough yarn for this project, so that is not a concern. And I might even have an extra skein to match with this for a shawl pattern. So that I recently purchased a pattern on RAVELRY. Let's see. This is I'm going to show you this pattern at the end. Just hide the pattern notes here. All right, got that covered up. So this is a pattern I bought on RAVELRY. It's called something palms. I'll let you know as soon as I set this down. It's a beautiful pattern. It's called the Dancing Palms Shawl by Justina Lorkowska, or Littes Knits. I'm not sure how to pronounce her designer name, but it's Lette. And I've been following this designer on Instagram. I love her account, I love her designs, and I love this shawl. So I bought it immediately. I knew that I would love it in these two colors. This is ovals fingering in the Barn Owl colorway. And again, this is the mustard seed colorway. And that is, I think, two great ways to use up a full sweater quantity plus of yarn that I have bought at the Rhinebeck Shiba Wool Festival. Ship, ship, come here. I don't want to get up to take her ball away, so I'm just going to distract her from it. The second sweater quantity of yarn I have is Elsa wool. I've shown this to you in the past. It is haunting me because I know it wants to be something, and I know it wants to be something soon, and I feel that this really soft and light woolen spun yarn wants to be something loose and cozy, comfortable. So I think that I really would like to knit myself a boxy, maybe drop sleeve sweater with this, because I really do, as much as like, I really do just love putting on jeans and a sweater, and this is a sweater I want to get a lot of use out of, a lot of wear out of, and so I'm thinking of recreating my Jenny's drop shoulder sweater with this yarn, but possibly making it a simple stockinette design instead of the, I don't know if you call it broken moss, I don't know if it's moss stitch or broken moss stitch. I don't know what moss stitch is off the top of my head right now that I'm speaking into a camera, but it's essentially like every other row you knit in the round, and every other row you knit purl, and you alternate the knit purls as you approach that row. So if 2 rows back you purled, then you knit, and so it's like seed stitch but broken up with knit rows. So I guess that would be moss stitch, I think. I might be wrong. I think moss stitch could be where you alternate the knit and purls of seed stitch every other time, so that you have, anyway, interesting textures you can do with knits and purls. I think I might just keep this simple and do it stockinette in the round so that it knits fast and easy. And that is my thoughts on this. I just covet this yarn. Is covet the right word? I just adore it. I adore this yarn, and I know that I want to wear it, and I want to wear it a lot. So there's that. Maybe I'll add like a really simple bit of lace or a really simple cable on the side or front, or I don't know. Maybe I should just simply find a pattern for this so I'm not stressing about how I use it, because I do fear starting a self-designed sweater with this yarn and then not liking the way it goes and having it hibernate for too long or not work out, and I really just want to be wearing this yarn. I want to wear it as soon as I can, and yet I don't know exactly how, but it'll happen. I know it will. So I've shown you my finished dog sweater and skein of yarn. I showed you my vanilla sock. I would like your feedback on whether you think I should continue in a basic plain stockinette or rip back and add a cable. I showed you a shawl I plan to knit and 2 sweaters I hope to start. There is one more thing I haven't shown you yet. I think It's the brioche shawl I had in a mild hibernation. This is the Dandelion Fields shawl by Knit Graffiti, and I just love this pattern so much. I've never knit brioche before, but I knew that this pattern would inspire me to continue learning this skill and apply it. I did learn how to brioche knit and brioche purl on a swatch that I hoped would turn out to be a hat, but I didn't like the feel of the cast-on edge, so I just tore that out and rolled it back up. So the last time I showed this shawl off, I had knit to about here, but I messed up that row, so I had to rip back a little bit, and so I've knit from here forward, and I really love this. I love this design. I love knitting this project. I can't say enough good things about it. This is knit with Tempting You yarns. It's a 2-ply fingering weight yarn that's indie dyed here in Maryland. The dyers of Tempting You yarns have a yarn shop, I think called Clover Hill. I have not yet been there, but I do hope to visit soon. And then the contrast yarn along the back, I over dyed from a 2-ply fingering weight skein of yarn that I received through FiberShare. FiberShare is something I've participated in twice already. I would encourage anyone to do it if they want to meet new people and maybe acquire new things you would never think to buy yourself, or maybe pass on things that you aren't using or have lost your sort of spark for onto someone else. Both of these have a silvery sparkle to them. You can see that there. And I just love this project. It's so soft, it's so light, it's so squishy, and it's very, it's kind of fancy. I don't want to say I don't know what I'll wear it with, but I'm excited to figure out what I'm going to wear with it. So this is on my needles. This is on hold till I make a decision. And perhaps soon I will cast on the start of this sweater. I do feel a bit empty inside when I don't have a sweater on the needles. Sweaters kind of keep me grounded and focused on knitting. So I do want to cast on a sweater soon. And I happen to just have a lot of fingering weight yarn. I have not knit a fingering weight sweater in some time. The last fingering weight sweater I knit was a 4-ply yarn. It was the Barrett Wool Company's fingering weight yarn that I knit the Jenny's drop shoulder in. I love that sweater. I wear it a lot. It's starting to pill, and I do kind of put weight on my elbows a lot, and I fear that this sweater is going to wear out sooner rather than later. So I would like to have more lightweight sweaters in my wardrobe before the start of spring. So if I could get another fingering weight sweater knit soon, I'd be thrilled. And perhaps I'll wear that to Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival. I'd like to finish a fingering weight sweater before October because I've learned since last year it's nice to have a versatile hand knit garment to wear when you can't predict how warm the weather might be. And this project that I think I'd shown you already, I do want to wear this by May. So I'm going to work on this as well. Here you'll see Starship Enterprise modeling her new sweater. I think she likes it a lot. It definitely looks good on her. And thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel and you'll find more in the future. And feel free to share, comment below, do what you want. I hope you have a great day. Bye!